Hi everyone, Mrs. Kesselum here, back with another awesome book. This one is called Be Your Own Hero. We know all about heroes. We've been talking a lot about heroes for the past 2 years. We love superheroes at Valley Vista, don't we? All right, let's see what this book is about. How was your day, Quinn? My best friend Sophie asked as I sat down beside her on the bus. Great. What you doing this weekend? I asked. I've got soccer on Saturday, and then I've got to start getting ready for Hero Week, she replied. I am so excited. Our whole grade is doing it. Me too. Mr. Finley said we'd meet a real-life hero first thing Monday morning, but we don't know who it is. Then we all get to dress up as our own favorite hero next Friday. Us too, Sophie exclaimed. I think I'll be J.K. Rowling. She's my favorite author. You guys know who J.K. Rowling is, right? She's the author of all the Harry Potter books. I sighed. I still have no idea who I want to be. Hopefully I can decide this weekend, I said as the bus pulled up to my stop. At home, I dropped my backpack in a chair and grabbed an apple off the counter. Mom, do you have a hero you look up to? I asked. Great question, Quinn, my mom said. I know your Oma is my hero for babysitting you and your sister tonight. She winked at me. Later that evening, my Oma asked me about my school year while we watered the plants together. I told her all about our class pet and how much I loved school. Mr. Finley, my teacher, makes class so much fun. Every day he tells us Mr. Finley's top 2. I set my watering can, adjusted my invisible bow tie, cleared my throat, and tried my best Mr. Finley impersonation. Number 1, be kind. Number 2, don't give up. These, my friends, are your life missions. Oma said she had a top 2 also, her 2 granddaughters. All weekend I tried to think of who I wanted to dress up as on Friday, but the problem was there were so many choices. How was I going to choose just one? Think about who you'd want to be. Who would you dress up as if you were supposed to dress up as a hero? On Monday, Sophie insisted on walking me to class so she could sneak a peek into Mr. Finley's classroom. We fast walked down the hallway and we were greeted at the door by a man wearing a lab coat and a wig with wild white hair. It took me a few seconds to realize that it was Mr. Finley dressed up as Albert Einstein, the famous scientist. After the bell rang, Mr. Finley said, "Class, class." "Yes, yes," we all answered. "Welcome to Hero Week, where each day we'll be celebrating special heroes from the present and past." Here on the board it says, "Heroes believe in themselves even when others don't." Today I am Albert Einstein. Did you know that although we think of Einstein as a genius now, when he was a kid, his teachers thought he should quit school because he just wasn't smart enough? What? Nearly the entire class gasped. Mr. Finley told us all about Albert Einstein and his contributions to science. Then he said, "Class, heroes believe in themselves even when others don't." And that's the case for Albert Einstein. Isn't that crazy? His teachers didn't think he was smart enough. Look what he did. On Tuesday, Mr. Finley was standing at the whiteboard drawing a bus. The school nurse, Mrs. Scott, was standing at the front of the class. She was dressed in old-timey clothes. Mr. Finley waited for students to try to guess who she was. "Anyone ever heard of Rosa Parks?" he finally asked. Some students nodded, others shook their head. Mrs. Scott spoke up. "I dressed up as Rosa Parks because she stood up for what she felt was right at a time when people were not treated fairly, just because of how they looked. In fact, she was told to sit in the back of the bus because of her skin color. She peacefully refused, and through her perseverance became a hero." Mr. Finley told us more about how important Rosa Parks was in a time known as the Civil Rights Movement. Then he said, "Class, heroes do the right thing even when it's tough." That's the lesson from that day. Heroes do the right thing even when it's tough. Remember from Albert Einstein's, it was heroes believe in themselves even when others don't. On Wednesday, I walked into the class and nearly bumped into a walking light bulb. The class laughed as Mr. Finley wobbled around his classroom. Did you know that Thomas Edison invented the light bulb after failing over and over nearly 10,000 times? Mr. Finley asked. The class looked at each other and began whispering. That's right, even when Thomas Edison was interviewed by a reporter who asked, "How did it feel to fail 10,000 times?" Edison answered, "I didn't fail 10,000 times. I figured out 10,000 ways how not to make a light bulb." We all laughed. Class, heroes understand that failure leads to success, Mr. Finley said. So there's our lesson for that day. Heroes understand that failure leads to success. On Thursday, I didn't see Mr. Finley when I first walked in because he was sitting in a chair wearing a t-shirt and backward baseball cap. He was blowing bubbles with chewing gum. He looked like a kid. "Who are you today?" asked Theo. He pointed to his name tag while blowing a giant bubble. It read, Ben Finley, age 9. Mr. Finley was dressed up as himself, but as a kid. "So, how are you a famous hero?" chuckled Justin, who always tried to be funny. "Glad you asked," Mr. Finley started. "And I'm not famous, unless my amazing talent of whistling Happy Birthday has gotten out to the media." We all laughed knowing that on our birthdays he showed off this skill, and he was pretty good. I wonder what he's up to. Let's find out. In all seriousness, I don't have a superpower. But when I look back at myself as a kid, it's heroic that I made it through life to be Mr. Finley, school teacher. If Ben Finley, age 9, was in your class, you would have seen a kid who had family troubles, who didn't understand math too well, and who would sometimes just wanted to give up. But he didn't give up, and he fought to make it into this world. So I decided he was my hero. Everyone just looked at Mr. Finley, eyes wide. I know you guys have your own troubles too, that I don't even know about. But I want you to know that inside every one of you is a hero waiting to happen. Then Mr. Finley snapped his fingers and said, "Class, class." "Yes, yes," we all replied. He took a deep breath. "I can't wait to see you guys dressed up tomorrow." So remember today's lesson, inside every one of you is a hero waiting to happen. Friday morning, I walked into a room full of heroes. There were heroes from all over the world and throughout history. There were several famous athletes, an astronaut, one student dressed as his grandpa, and my favorite, several kids dressed up as none other than Mr. Finley, complete with sweater vests and bow ties. Mr. Finley called out, "Today's the day. We're going to hear all about your heroes." I see some heroes I recognize and some I don't know, because not all heroes are famous. Heroes can be ordinary people who have discovered ways to make the world a better place. Now, one by one, come introduce who you dressed up as and why. He's got all the lessons from the week up on the board. Each student took turns standing before the class to talk about their hero. We all heard about people like Michael Jordan, Amelia Earhart, Maya Angelou, Abraham Lincoln. One student's dad was in the Army, and of course, Mr. Finley. I waited until it was my turn. Then I walked to the front of the class. I took off my jacket that was covering my costume. "My name is Quinn Wilson. Future inventor, writer, scientist, teacher, artist, peacemaker, or something else fabulous," I proclaimed. The class looked around at each other and to Mr. Finley, who smiled. When I was trying to choose which of my heroes to dress up as today, I had a tough time choosing. There are so many people I look up to as heroes. So I chose to dress up as my future self with all my possibilities. But that's not all, I said as I pulled a watering can from my backpack. On this watering can, I wrote the names of all of my heroes, since they are helping me grow into the person who I'm supposed to be. Get it? I asked the class. They're helping me grow into my own person. And this week I've learned that I need to be my own hero. I looked at Mr. Finley and asked, "What'd you think?" "Yes, yes," Mr. Finley chanted, beaming with pride. "Yes, yes," the class repeated. Let's read those lessons one more time because I think they're super important. So, inside every one of you is a hero waiting to happen. Heroes understand that failure leads to success. Heroes do the right thing even when it's tough. Heroes believe in themselves even when others don't. And not all heroes are famous. Heroes can be ordinary people who have discovered ways to make the world a better place. Those are some really good lessons. And here is their class. This is so cool. So they put the whole class down, all the kids, and then our class in 20 years, and it shows all the people grown up in 20 years and what they become. Some are moms, some are doctors. Quinn, the girl in the book, becomes a florist, someone who puts together beautiful flower arrangements, very artsy. Marine biologist, police officer, game developer, lawyer, mayor, school counselor. There's a school counselor. Love it. So I want you guys to think, if you had Hero Day here at Valley Vista, who would you dress up as? I'd love to know. Have a great day, guys.